Okay, so this is my rehearsal journal for week 2 of the horror walk. So my target for this week was to be prepared to workshop some of our ideas so far and to further understand and develop on my role in the production, to understand what elements of the performance I will be working on, and to also make sure that everyone is communicating their ideas to me, as obviously George and I will be writing the recorded narrative. So we needed to know the plot and the sort of narrative structure. So my target was also to independently research methods of recreating the generic conventions of horror so that we could implement these in our play, and also applying these ideas to my writing. So how do you build up suspense, mystery, fear, panic, etc. So I also aim to work well as a team member and to be creative and enthusiastic towards our practical work. So I was trying to join in as much as possible and contribute ideas, but also remembering to stand back and listen to other people's ideas, because obviously with devising, everyone needs to have a say and bring something to the table. So I wanted to display this week a thorough understanding of the background context of the project. And although I'm still researching Cornish tin mining and immersive and interactive theatre and what it means, that will be ongoing throughout the project, I think. So yeah, it's interesting learning about how to write and devise a new idea from scratch. And obviously this week we've just been kind of building on those skills, such as projection. So today we've been looking at our voice and opening up our vocal areas. We've been doing some exercises with Jess, so learning how to warm up those vocal cords with breathing techniques, and also using inhalation and exhalation to count how long we can project our voices for at a kind of good solid pitch before we run out of breath. So obviously the more I do that and the more I practice those breathing techniques, hopefully the longer I can project for, and then I will have to take less breaths in when I'm on stage. So that's obviously important, because we talked about things like Minac theatre and obviously outside performances where you might not always be mic'd up. More often you are, but there's a lot of kind of good God, there's a lot of theatre companies in Cornwall which do outside performances, and with that obviously you need the audience to be able to hear you with all of the other background noise going on. So we talked about how actors tend to speak quite slowly doing pantomime, and they lift up their voices at the end. And also during Shakespeare, actors can speak quite slowly like this, and it's not natural. It's not naturalistic style of theatre. So what we did is we stood at opposite ends of the corridor and we tried to project our voices to each other. First of all, just saying the word hello, and to see how far back we could say it at a kind of normal tone of voice without going hello. And then we started trying to have a conversation, and it was very difficult because I started going like, yes, how about you? And really straining those vocal cords as if, I was screaming across the hallway. And that isn't good, because an actor doesn't speak like that, and if you go to a performance and the actor's speaking like that, you're not going to slip into it and think it's, a realistic story or get to feel the character, because they're going to lose a lot of their accent and their pitch and their tone and their pace because they're just trying to shout it. So there's more to learn about that, but it's been an interesting day doing that today. So we've also looked at mapping our production as we have it so far. So with mapping it out in a kind of geographic sense, so we know how the college campus is positioned and where we need to go from A to B, but we're not quite sure still what happens at these different points, these different areas of action. So I'm going to create a map, because I found the fire exit map and it looks really good and really easily laid out, and I'm going to edit that so that we have like the points of action on it, so that we can easily refer to them, like, oh, this happens here, this happens that, when we're improvising and then writing what actually happens in the plot. We've got those little points of points of narrative. So also this week I started to write up what my character says. So I had to think about, how does this fit into the play? How does this introduce the play? Because obviously she's on a projected video. This is at the very first point when they arrive. They've just been given their CD to put into their car, and the audience are kind of like, oh, what's going on here? And then I sort of say, welcome to St. Austell School of Mines, etc., etc. And we've discussed, what sort of person she is in more detail, and we've gathered that she's never been to Cornwall. She's got no idea really what's going on. She might have an inkling that something didn't quite go right the last time that they had visitors, but that's all it's alluded to. As we're speaking with the genre of horror, it's very good to allude to things and not say it outright. Don't say, oh yes, well, some people came here before and they've ended up dying and their cars are, still left up at the top of the car park. That would ruin it. So it's about building up that suspense. Well, I did hear from my communications team that they had a little bit of difficulty